a lot of people don't claim and can't claim to be scientists. I could particularly claim not to be a scientist. But I do understand something about the rules of logic and evidence, and about the logical and the probable, and the contingent and the non-contingent, and the sufficient and the necessary. And I think I'd have to say that Stephen Jay Gould understates things, at least, by saying that in an attempt at mutuality, that religion and science are dealing with a non-overlapping magisterium. It's certainly true that they don't overlap, but that doesn't make them any more compatible. They could still be, and I would argue they are, very difficult to reconcile. Why is that? Well, to be religious is not to be a deist, as I'm sure the Monsignor would confirm. Mm-hmm. To be religious is to be a theist. In other words, if what atheists cannot disprove, we don't say we can disprove it, we only say there's no reason to believe it, the existence of a God, they would only be deists. That's as far as you can get. The deist has all his work, or her work, still ahead of him to become religious. Because religion involves saying you know that God's mind. You know what he wants of you. You know what he wants of you in point of diet, in point of sex, in point of conduct, and doctrine and other matters. You claim, in other words, to know what I would say without any hesitation, much more than any human being can possibly know. So I think religion falls, so to say, at the very, very first fence, because the believer is claiming access to a certain knowledge that is not possible for a human being to have. Whereas science must operate, can in fact only operate on the basis of objective inquiry that is driven by doubt, by skepticism, and by uncertainty. So what science cannot be compatible with is, shall we say, faith.
Raise the question of rationality. Lewis makes the point, quote, granted that reason is prior to matter, that as it is in most religious outlets, certainly in the Judeo-Christian conception, granted that reason is prior to matter, I can understand how men should come by observation and inference to know a lot about the universe they live in. If, on the other hand, minds are wholly dependent on brains, and brains on biochemistry, and biochemistry on the meaningless flux of atoms, that is to say, if there's nothing but material, this is the materialistic worldview, I cannot understand how the thought of those minds should have any more significance than the sound of the wind in the trees, close quote. Set aside questions of right and wrong and pangs of conscience to the question of reason itself. If you have a thoroughgoing materialist view of the world, doesn't that tend to represent an attack on reason itself, or at least lower? Why should the work of Christopher Hitchens have any more claim on my attention than the random poundings at a keyboard of a chimp?
Well,
isn't that a serious philosophical problem?
No, it isn't.
It isn't.
As usually, Lewis is chewing much more than he bites off. As it happens, I've had my DNA sequenced recently. You can get yours done too. You should, by the way.
You had it done?
Yeah, you can find what we always suspected. You know, I'm half a chromosome away from a chimpanzee, related also to plant and vegetable and other matter, as well as other animals. And I don't think evolution even knows that I'm here. And I don't think that the Big Bang originated with me in mind. I'm sorry to say that I'm not as solipsistic and self-centered and arrogant as the religious would have me be. I don't think that these processes had me in mind or are aware of my presence. Doesn't make me feel that I can go and do anything I want. Why doesn't it? I don't know why it doesn't. But I do know, by counterexample, that if I put this problem to you, name me an ethical action taken or a moral statement made by a believer that could not have been made or performed by a non-believer. I very much doubt you'll be able to do it. At least no one else has been able to yet. Give you time for it. If I asked any audience, can they think of a wicked action undertaken or a wicked statement made because of religion, nobody has a single second of hesitation before they can think of one. So you have advanced the argument not at all. In fact, you've again degraded it to the view that we ought to believe foolish things, such as that we need divine permission to behave well, because if we didn't believe this, we might behave badly. Well, the facts are what they are, and the fact is that no, actually material does come first.
But I've already
Material,
granted you,
the mind is a brain before it's anything else. Of course, anyone who says to the contrary is talking abject nonsense.
No, but I think you...
Process of verification certainly includes the scientific critique. If science by itself can convince me that what I have found that sparks my faith, it's no reason to go any further. I would accept that. The problem is that it doesn't convince me. It's more like you try to explain to your uncomprehending family why you have fallen in love with so and so, and they have all the arguments and everything. And you can understand even why they are saying what they're saying. You can even see the same problem, but you can't help it. You have fallen in love. Sorry, Chris.
Well, but this, if you don't mind my saying so, Monsignor, is extraordinary. I mean, I'm used to people of faith saying, well, we don't mean this particular bit literally, or we don't necessarily insist on that myth or that miracle, but no. If you do not believe that the divine creator of all things sent us his son to suffer terribly, and by that suffering to purchase our redemption from, not just from our sins, but from sin itself, and you don't seem to believe that. You see, it's just as likely that this delusion arises for biological reasons. Then I protest. I was told I was going to argue with a person of faith today.
Okay. Well,
here's the great contradiction of being religious, and she really is exemplified in a very amiable way this evening. If you are a person of faith, then that's what you are a person of. Especially in Christianity and Islam, it's the strength of your faith that is your merit. It's your willingness to believe and to risk your life for it, no matter what. Do you affirm it? Yes, I do. How does it go? They say it 5 times a day. There is no God but God, and Allah is his messenger. You notice the first 4 words are exactly right. Yeah. Sorry, and Muhammad. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. The first 4 words are exactly right. There is no God. So 5 times a day, millions of people around the world unknowingly speak 4 words of complete truth. Progress of a kind. But it's the faith that is the merit. What do they want evidence for? They're never going to get any evidence for that. The merit is the faith. So as soon as they say, and by the way, it is possible to make night journeys to Jerusalem on a horse, the faith shrivels. It shrivels. And Christianity has given itself away repeatedly on this. It now says, we didn't used to think there was a Big Bang, but now we realize there was one. Reads a lot like Genesis when you read it backwards. Plagiarism, pure and simple. They do it all the time. But then now they're pimping off the back of medical science and doing extraordinary moments in surgery, surgical intervention, to do the near-death experience racket. This is a familiar thing. All these things will yield to properly controlled scientific investigation. But the things that we know already are miraculous enough.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today, I'd like to discuss some thought-provoking arguments presented by Christopher Hitchens on the inherent conflict between science and religion. Let's delve into 3 key points I find particularly persuasive in Hitchens' critique. Hitchens' discourse highlights 3 pivotal points. Number 1, faith versus skepticism. Hitchens argues that religion necessitates unwavering faith and certainty about divine intentions, a claim he deems beyond human reach. Conversely, science flourishes on a foundation of doubt, skepticism, and relentless inquiry. Science thrives by questioning and rigorously testing hypotheses, driven by uncertainty and a commitment to evidence. This stark contrast in methodologies underscores the difficulty in reconciling the 2 domains. Number 2, materialism and mind. Hitchens challenges the theistic assertion that the mind transcends material existence. He posits that our cognitive faculties result from biochemical processes and evolutionary mechanisms. By referencing his DNA sequencing, Hitchens illustrates our genetic proximity to other life forms, underscoring that human existence is not central to the universe's design. This materialistic perspective disputes the belief in a divinely ordained purpose for human thought and existence. Number 3, ethical actions. Hitchens contends that ethical behavior is not exclusive to religious believers. He challenges proponents of religion to identify a moral action that cannot be performed by a non-believer. Conversely, he highlights numerous instances where religious dogma has incited harmful actions. This argument suggests that morality is rooted in human principles and values, rather than religious doctrines. Thank you for watching. To support me personally due to my terminal cancer, follow the GoFundMe link in the description below. If you found this discussion engaging, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications for new videos. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support is invaluable in helping me continue to bring you insightful content. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and be kind to one another.